time for some help, hope, and healing. Every day's a new beginning. Tap into your feelings and give your life new meaning. No matter the time of day, His grace and mercy goes with you along the way. Help, hope, and healing. Every day's a new beginning. Get in step with Nicole.
Welcome to another episode of Get in Step with Nicole. I am your host, Nicole Horston. And today I have the most beautiful woman on the face of this planet, Deanna Jones. I'm telling you, I love you so much.
I know, I love you too.
And I'm just very grateful that she has decided to come on the show and to help us with today's theme, which is a lad faith walk. I'll say that again, a lad, L-A-D, faith walk. And you may say, wait a minute, what does that mean? I'm glad you asked. It's Life After a Detour, which is Deanna's book, combined with faith walk. And you guys know I absolutely love an acronym. Faith is faith abiding in the house. So after there's a detour in your life, we want to encourage your spirit today to let you know that you have to have faith that abides in the house, meaning you, the vessel. So thank you for, once again, coming onto the show and sharing your story. And each of my guests I deal with differently. And so I know that you brought along your book with you today, Life After a Detour. And you and I were talking, and we said that detours can be so many things. You know, some come where you can do a quick pivot, a quick shift. Then there's some that come that derail you. And just, knock you off your feet, and you have a hard time getting started again. But then you wanted to share yours in particular. So I'm going to, switch places with you. Which means you're going to be the host right now. And you're going to share your story, how you'd like to share it. Go ahead and look at the audience and share with them.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I am so humbled and excited to be here, especially on this lad faith walk. The detour that I've had so many detours in my life, to be honest. And I wanted to go back to the earliest one that I can remember vividly. And it was when I was entering foster care for the last time. So I have entered foster care 2 to 3 times. One of them I didn't really stay, so I really don't know if I should count it. But the last time I entered, I was broken and didn't know. And so my mom raised us in church. She was a preacher's kid.
PK.
Yeah, she was a true PK. And I'm
every sense of the word.
Every sense. And then she wasn't. And then she started studying Jehovah's Witnesses, and then she was like, this is not where I need to be. And so God has always been with me. It's always been implanted in me. I always knew that if I was in trouble, to call upon the Lord. And I'm so grateful for that, because the detour that I want to share with you guys is really dealing with the few days before I entered into foster care. And so, like I mentioned, I'm a part of a sibling group, so there's 3 of us that were left in the home. I was also a teenage mom of 2 at this time. One of those children were autistic. I didn't know that yet, but I knew that something was different. So I had a lot going on to be 15.
15 years old,
absolutely. I was 15, And so as I'm dealing with this, I just wanted to go to school. And so my dad was like, listen, school's done for you. I'm going to take care of you. You take care of these kids. Take care of your brother or sister. I'm going to go work. And then he also was like a dealer, a car shark on the weekends. So he would be gone for a week or 2 at a time. He would come in, he would bring some cash, and then he would leave.
So now at this time, where was your mother? Because you spoke at the beginning about your mom. So where was your mom at this time?
My mom was in jail. And that was a detour in and of itself, really being able to have to function with no parents.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And under the statute, because I was also a caseworker, and while we won't necessarily get into that today, I know that from my role as a caseworker, I was a parentified child. And what that means is that I was operating as a parent, taking care of other children, which is not okay. And so
that term again is parentified. So it means
Yes.
parentified.
Yes.
So
That's it.
parentified. Parent I am.
Parent I am. And I
Yes.
was.
Okay.
Yes, I was.
Yes. Okay.
And I was, taking care of myself, and I just like, Dad, I just really want to go to school. Like, that's all I want to do. And I tried everything, and my dad was like, don't worry about it. And so soon I wasn't going to school. My brother and sister were saying, yo, she doesn't have to go to school.
Right.
I'm not going to school.
And that was a whole nother
It
problem.
was a whole nother situation. So
Wow.
I'm caring for myself, my 2 children, and my brother and sister.
Okay, so that was 4 under you.
4
plus
under me.
yourself,
Yes.
Who was a teen.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I was handling it. I was cooking Thanksgiving dinner. I mean,
Girl, what you say?
I mean, really doing it. And so even now I'm the chef for my family. And, one day I was like, I've had it. I'm going to call some agencies. I just need help. I need like food every now and then if I can't get a hold of Dad, because it wasn't cell phones like that.
Right. Back
You know
in
what I
the
mean?
day.
I
Yes,
just turned
absolutely.
41 yesterday.
That's right. Can we just take a pause for the cause? Wave your hands at home and say, happy birthday. She'll get that subliminally. So yes.
I'll feel it. I'll feel it.
Yes,
from
and
there.
I actually sung to her yesterday.
She did, and it was beautiful.
We just had to do that pause for the cause. But yes, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So you had, back in the day, there weren't cell phones.
No.
And
At
so-
least my dad didn't have one. 'cause he
Right.
was
Well,
old
we
school.
still had the rotary phone because we're similar in age.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm the big sister, but
Yes, definitely.
Yes. So you didn't have the luxuries that we have for like if you were a teen mom today.
Right.
That you
Right.
had going on for you. You had like less resources, but you were
Yeah.
actually in fact reaching out, saying, "Hey, I need help over here."
Yes.
Okay. So you were contacting agencies.
Yeah, so I contacted ODJFS, and they had like a LEAP program, and so I went down there, got the applications, met all the requirements, made photocopies of my birth certificate, contacted Directions for Youth and Families, which is an agency in Columbus, Ohio, and before I know it, I finally get linked with her. She keeps coming out, and she says, "Listen, if I don't meet your dad, I got to call the people." Now, if
Right.
y'all don't know, the people is Children's Services.
Right.
So in the
Right.
hood, when you hear the people, we know
The people,
what you're
right.
Yeah.
There's only
Yeah.
one of 2 people.
Yeah.
And although we kind of changed the people to the popo, so
Yeah.
to make a differentiation
Yeah.
between the 2.
Yeah.
But she said that if she comes to the home again,
Yes.
not seeing your father there, that she would actually have to do her job
Yes.
and actually contact the appropriate authorities.
Yes.
Okay.
And so she did. She came out. She was a support to me. She got me a GED book that I was kind of studying from, and she would take me out of the house to do that. And she finally said, "Listen, I had to call yesterday." And so Children's Services was coming out, and we were just disregarding her, like, "Listen, no, we're not going with you." And the detour comes, or the part of the brokenness that I recognized is I knew something was off.
Right.
In the moment, I didn't know I was broken.
Yeah.
But looking back, as hindsight is always 20/20,
Absolutely.
I realized how broken I was sitting in that space. I was depressed, I was overwhelmed, and I had no one to call because my family was broken. Like even my extended family, which is why I ended up in foster care.
Right.
And I was trying to sit there and figure out what to do. And as I went to run my fingers through my hair, I felt something on my face, my neck, and saw something on my shoulder. So I know that's not my hair. Jesus, I know that's not my hair.
That's one of those moments like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I know I don't feel
Like
what I feel,
Yeah,
but
listen.
I feel something.
Yeah.
I feel something.
And I was sitting there like, it almost brought me up out my depression for a minute to kind of giggle. I know that's
Immediate
not
fix.
That is my hair.
Wow.
And so I realized that I had to go to God in prayer.
And I know this is really, ladies and gentlemen, such a touchy subject. And I mean, we're very close. And so I did say to Deanna that, at any point in the show that, we need to take a break. I know this is live television, but if we need to take a break, that's what we're going to do. Because a lot of times when we share things and we want to be so transparent with you, there are triggers. And some of you, may be triggered at home just listening to the story of being a teenage mom, taking care of your siblings, being a caregiver, having a parent in jail, and
Yeah.
an absent parent, even though your dad was there providing financially when he
Yeah.
could, he still worked.
Yeah.
And his absence in the home. So we're talking about a lot, ladies and gentlemen, but always got to put that but in there because that adds a comma.
Yeah.
We have that faith walk. So we talked, our title for today is Life After a Detour, the Faith Walk. And that faith is an acronym for faith abiding in the house.
Yeah.
And you can take that as literal as you may or as figuratively as you may. Because see how it hit me at 5 a.m. this morning when that theme came to me and I reached out to you.
Yeah.
I was talking about faith in my house, in my body, mind, and spirit. But then Deanna is sharing how her faith walk began at home.
Yeah.
And even in the foster care system.
Yeah.
So it was a different house. So we all have our house experiences, our home experiences where it's either attacking you at home, attacking you in your vessel, your being.
Yeah.
Okay, so you was just really crying out to God this moment because you see your hair.
Yeah.
And I even asked you the question, how did you know you were broken? Because a lot of times when people have that what's wrong with me moment, they don't always get that they're broken.
Yeah.
Because there are people that function in dysfunction.
And I did.
And do it well.
And do it well. And you never would have known. I mean, I still passed my GED flying colors. I did so well. They're like, why don't you just go back to school?
Yeah.
Because I can't. I'm in foster care. Like, listen, this is what my life is.
Right.
But I didn't realize it. And as I entered foster care, I was 16 by the time I entered foster care for the last time. And I entered and started to really unpack the depth and the breadth of the brokenness, right?
Yeah.
And so I looked at my kids and I said, God, you have to help me.
And you really have to help me because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm listening intently to the story. And of course, I know your book. But what happened to the kids? Because you were in foster care because you weren't an adult yet and you weren't emancipated.
Right.
So then your children was also in foster care.
Yes.
And I was trying to think, like, how does that look?
It looked totally different. It actually, my children were not, there was some kind of companion case that they called it.
Okay.
To where they were in my care, but because I was in care, they had to be somewhat provided for.
Okay.
But the foster parents made it very clear that they took care of me. They didn't get paid for my kids.
Okay.
And so that was in and of itself another hurdle because I just want diapers that my son doesn't use the bathroom one time and then there's pee everywhere. I just wanted semi-good diapers.
The fits, something fitting,
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
Simple request, you would think.
I mean, listen, I wasn't in school.
Yes.
I wasn't getting any therapy. I wasn't giving any assistance. And I'm sitting here holding my son. And I mean, guys, it was like a Bounty paper towel in a Kroger bag. I mean, it was so thin. And I'm like, it should not be this hard. I need you, God. And the prayers were so not extravagant. Right. But I knew enough that when I had gone to the end of myself, I had to turn to the one that could carry me. And there's a song that says, keep me. And that's what I would say, God, just keep me.
Keep me.
Help me get through this. And so he did. And so he began to help me work on cultivating my faith. Yes. He really started to speak to me through his word about who he says he is to me. Yeah. Because I didn't really realize that I was still a daughter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I didn't realize that I was still a daughter, that I had a right to raise up a standard against the enemy, that I had a right to cast my sins into the sea of forgetfulness, never to forget again. I had a right to that. Yeah. And he still loved me. And so as I started to really gain that, and started to realize I need healing in so many areas. Yes. By the time I aged out of foster care, I didn't know where my brother and my sister were. I didn't know where my dad was. I knew where my mom was, but I had no contact with her. I had been through rape and molestation both. And I had so much trauma. And then they dumped me in this apartment with 2 kids, one of which is autistic. Right. And I remember praying, I said, God, if I can just get to this church, it's a church in Columbus. If I could just get to this church, I think it'll be all right. And so I ended up going there and getting saved. And it saved, it didn't end there. Right. Because there were still more detours. But that's where that faith has to abide. And there's nothing like, there's a song that Cardi B is a secular artist, but she has a song. It's called "Get Up 10," and I like the song because she says, even if I get knocked down 9 times, I'm getting up 10, and that's to me what faith is. It's really me standing there believing God will do what He said He'd do for me.
Yes.
Because it was one thing for me to believe that God would do it. It's another thing for believe that God would do it for me, and I'm still growing in that. At 41.
That's right. See, it's still new to you.
I still got to say.
The 41's still new to you.
Like, girl,
but can I just go back? Because see, a
Yeah.
lot of times I was sharing with Deanna that church, we have that Sadducee spirit, meaning that, you know, we have to have this upright, upstanding, you know, no mistakes made type of faith. But see, God honors your faith and understanding, first of all and foremost, who He is.
Yeah.
Because see, that pleases Him. He even says that, that your faith is what pleases Him, not the pomp and the circumstance, the rules and regulations that, you know, we can be as strict as we need to be in the church, but are we helping and healing people? And in the words of Cardi B, okay.
I tried.
But you know, it really is. I said that just like make light of it, but it really is. And I've heard so many stories from people that even haven't been on the show who want, you know, to share. But a lot of time when I vet them, that's their backstory. That, you know, I needed help. And then because of my circumstances, some of the people of the church turned me away.
Absolutely.
But then there were those even in the church. So what are you saying, Nicole? I'm trying to help you understand that we're all people and we are fallible.
Yes.
And so when we, like you say, fall 9 times, you know, get up the 10th time, a lot of times, even the Bible says, man, fall the 7th time?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to reach out to someone, and it may not be always the church, is what I'm saying. You actually did area community resources.
Yes.
And even though you were in a detour, as we call it, like I said, there's various detours. I mean, you've mentioned 5 that I was counting on my hand, but
Okay,
there's
5 was it?
well, I mean, you know, just in my head.
Yeah.
You know, just 'cause I was really trying to get into the story because I know who you are today,
Yes.
and it all is involved in your faith walk.
Yes.
And I heard you say just 2 key things that you knew who He was, but then you also called on Him. And I was sharing with you in the car today, El Rohi.
Yes.
And El Rohi, I tell y'all, is the God who sees. And we was listening to Marvin Sapp, and he was talking about Elohim.
Yeah.
And that's the ever-present God, that ever-present help. And that's what I heard, and I even shared it with you on the way here today. God was ever-present.
Yes, He was.
Even in those detours, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't want you to get it twisted. You said you got saved, and you know, God began to fill you, but it still was not without detours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because us becoming into the full knowledge of who God is, becoming saved, becoming believers, growing in Christ, it doesn't erase life experiences.
That's right.
And that's what I want people to understand. It doesn't erase our life experiences, but it gives us a hope. Ooh, and that's that hope is built on nothing less but Jesus Christ and His blood and righteousness.
Yes.
So I dare not, you know, I'm not gonna get into, but I'm just daring. You dared. I wanted to get to that part of the song. You dared to believe that God would take you out of the situation and bring you out better on the other side. And so life after, because see, there's something that comes after the mistake. There's something that comes after, you know, the detour.
Yes.
If you have that hope.
Yeah.
Because see, it's I believe. You know, we can say that all day long.
And you'll still get tired of believing.
Exactly.
That's why He told us not to faint.
That's right. But then you also have to have that hope.
Yeah.
Because that faith, it operates the hope that I know that God can and He will.
And He will.
And He will.
Yeah.
And so you are now on the other side of your detour, which I'm telling you, we have to do like about 4 shows with you just to tap on every facet that would have broken someone, and they're still haven't recovered.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because that's sometimes, unfortunately, what happens.
It is. It's
when
real.
and that's real talk. When people hit those impasses, those roadblocks in their lives.
Yeah.
But because, and I wanted to pull it back to your mother, even though your mom was incarcerated, and this is a series, you're the second person in the series to actually
Okay.
talk about, just mass incarceration and how it impacts the family. And, I had on another guest, Janice Boston, who shared her story of being incarcerated. And now you're giving that different aspect of, you were the family member who was impacted by someone who's incarcerated.
Yeah.
And so, but your mom planted that seed, because in the beginning of the show, you said your mom was a preacher's kid.
Yes.
And see, that's why we tell you
To train up a
to
child.
train up a child,
Yeah.
because it will never depart.
Yes.
I don't care how old you get.
So true.
I don't care what you've been through.
That's right.
Just like I'm talking about, look, I call him the guy in the hog pen, the prodigal son.
Yes.
Just like the prodigal son, he wanted so much, so fast, so quickly. But then he had to have that gutter experience. And I said that to say that God gets into, I'm telling you, we were laughing because we beat ourselves up, ladies and gentlemen, when we do have a mistake, because you talked about being a teen mom, and of course, a lot of times people frown upon that.
Oh,
and
they
so, and it's
definitely
like,
did.
my mother even said, the first one, I'll consider that a mistake. You need to learn from it. The second one, you know what you're doing, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, basically.
But you had two children to worry about. You were caring for your siblings, who was also looking up to you.
Yeah.
But then who did Deanna look up to? But God.
Yeah.
But God.
But God. And I'm grateful because I want everyone listening to know that there is an after this.
Yes. Talk about it, sister.
Whatever you are facing, whatever your detour is in this moment, there is an after this. Yes. There is an other side of the mountain. And I think that, so many times, because I'm a speaker as well. And so many times they're like, I can't believe you got there and said all of that. And I said, you know why I said all of that? Because there's victory in it. Because those are the testimonies that really make people consider the Lord. You understand what I'm saying? That I know what it's like to have a mom on drugs and to come home and there's drug dealers and police in there in our house and I'm paid to leave.
Yes.
And my mom still died saved. She still was able to help us when we faltered. Yeah. And it's like, no matter what you say about my story, my family, you also have to say, like you can say my mom was on drugs, she was in jail. You can also say that she's a survivor. She is an overcomer. I mean, that's what we say. Tell my whole story. Yes, I was his teen mom. Yes, I have a GED, but tell him how I got my master's degree. Tell him how I got to
give you some snaps on that. Run the roll, because we do go through so much.
Yes.
But you got to tell the whole story.
The whole story.
And that's what I wanted you to do today, as as you're speaking, just like tell your truth. Because see, I can't tell it, like I said, you can't tell it. Let me tell it what God has done for me. Yes. Let me tell it. Because see, I'm going to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
And all that truth.
And that's all that is true.
Yes.
Right. So, yes, run down the roll of your accomplishments. Because, yes, I didn't give the formal introduction because I wanted her to get right into the story.
Yeah.
Because I knew we would need time throughout the show to actually get it all in. And I didn't want to make the mistake of us running out of time and not allowing her to get it in. And so, you're an overcomer. You're a speaker, you're an author. Show up your book to the audience here. Life After a Detour is Deanna Jones's book.
Yes.
And I mean, tell us how we can actually get in contact with you beyond the show today.
Sure. So
hold it up, honey. Be proud. Just show that in the camera.
I'm so proud. This book is really for new parents and young parents. And so it's firsthand advice to empower.
Yes.
And so I share from obviously my perspective, both as a teen mom and because the mom in my 15, 16, totally different mom than right now.
Yes.
And so both of those vantage points I try to bring through in this book. And why I was blessed to be able to write this book is because it talks about the great parts of parenting. Because there's so many books to tell you at this age your baby's the size of a banana. At this time you might be feeling selfish, but nobody's saying, I'm losing my identity.
Yeah.
I'm not Deanna anymore first. First I'm a mom.
Absolutely.
What does self-care really look like?
Yeah.
How do I go to school if you're a teen? How do I go to school and go to work? So there's so many different things encompassed in this. Even my adult friends like it. And so I'm blessed to be able to praise God truly, because I know where I came from. I know that even with the GED, even with the foster care, I have a hair beauty supply store, shout out Regal Beauty Co. Online with my sister. I have a speaking business. I'm a trainer, and then I'm a program specialist for a social justice, social equity organization.
But let me just put a pin right there, because I really want the audience to understand that you said that there is victory after this. And ladies and gentlemen, she's just blurting off, and I'm allowing her to do so, because I told her we were switching roles today, that this was her show, because I wanted her to really just share the story, and also share that faith that she had after the detour is what's catapulting all of the successes. Because when she reached up and looked up, she knew who is and was back then in control.
That's right.
And so even in that, God is giving you the desires of your heart, and then you're actually showing other people, like through her book, through her speaking engagements and such, and just telling her, because you've been on television worldwide, you know, sharing this story. And it's just amazing. And we wanted to encourage someone's heart today to let you know that you can and you will make it, but you have to have that faith. And yes, it can be as small as the mustard seed. It can be as grand as the hands can stand. You know, it's just like, but you have to understand it, mean it when you say, God, I trust you.
Yeah.
I shared with Deanna that God does his greatest work when you've wrecked your brain, using, exerting all your strength.
Yeah.
And I told her that God has a sense of humor, because, okay, he said, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Because when you're at the end, like you said, of your brokenness, that's when God said, see, okay, I got you right where I need you to be so that I can do my greatest work.
Come on and preach.
Okay?
Yes.
Because, see, now you know that it's only through me. Just like even in the Lazarus story, when there was like, you know, the Sadducees was like, oh, 3 days. If no one ever lived beyond the spirit beyond 3 days, God said, okay, look, let me show up on the 4th day. To let you know. And Mary was like, oh, no, Lazarus is going to be stinking by then. It's been 3 days. And yes, I'm putting it figuratively, ladies and gentlemen, but I want you to get the point. After that 4th day, God showed up. Jesus shows up to say, listen, get up. Get up, Lazarus, get up. So I'm saying it to you. You may have been in a detour, you know, for 30 days, 6 months, an entire year. Know that God can and he will.
Amen. Yes.
Thank you so much for just sharing your story today, and just really letting us know that there is life after the detour. And we must have faith abiding in us, which means in the house, your literal house, and the figurative one, meaning your vessel. And no matter the time of day, it is always a great time to get in step and soar. I believe you can. I know that you will, as long as you keep God first and believe that he can do all things but fail. Sister, I applaud you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on the show. We have to catch up again. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
My name is Deanna Clark. I am an award-winning community advocate for domestic and gun violence. I am also the CEO of Live Out Loud Enterprises, which is an organization that helps raise awareness of domestic and gun violence. I want to invite you out to our first annual gala, where we will have a keynote speaker. We'll be honoring a survivor, and we will even have a best mask contest. We'll have food and drinks and lots of dancing. The link for the gala is attached to this video.